Vulcan Raven, the tannest and biggest member of Foxhound. Raven was born around 1970, making him about 35 in this game, and he was raised as a shaman by his people, who are presumably Native Alaskans and Inuit Americans. Supposedly his status as a shaman is actually the reason for his spiritual powers, which I'll get back to later. Raven graduated from the University of Alaska, and he regularly takes part in the Eskimo Indian Olympics. Events that he excelled at were muktuk eating, the ear pull, the stick pull, and the four-man carry, the last of which he actually won with 6 men. One day, on a trip across the frozen Bering Strait to Siberia, Raven met a GRU operative known as Revolver Ocelot. Afterwards, he joined the Soviet Special Forces unit Vimpel, and after the fall of the Soviet Union, he was demoted along with all his unit members after Boris Yeltsin's coup in 1993. Afterwards, he decided to leave Russia and become a mercenary for hire. This is where he joined Outer Heaven, and he somehow later avoided confronting Snake when he blew up their headquarters. Afterwards, he joined Foxhound with a recommendation from Revolver Ocelot, becoming the unit's expert on heavy weapons and explosive ordnance. Some of you may believe I'm missing a lot of details in this story, but most of his backstory has only been explained in important moments rather than important details. Vulcan Raven is basically a super-duper spiritual character. He seems to believe that his actions and words are guided by the force of nature itself. Everything he views through the perspective of what it means in the grand scheme of things in the natural world. I actually think Vulcan Raven would have been this game's most well-realized and strongly defined character if not for one thing. Instead of only being super spiritual, he actually has spiritual powers. Raven already has a captivating mindset, a physically intimidating image, a characterization that just works, and one of the most iconic weapon choices in gaming history. He doesn't need any extra powers like the ability to shoot birds and talk beyond the dead. I think Raven only needed more screen time to properly show how dedicated he is to his view on the world, and he could have been considered one of the big greats in this game. But as far as I've seen, he's always outshined by Liquid, Ocelot, and Wolf. In English, Vulcan Raven is voiced by Peter Lorre, and in Japanese, he's voiced by Yukitoshi Hori. And what's strange about Vulcan Raven is that his character doesn't seem that changed depending on how he's performed. He's one of the few characters I've seen where as long as he doesn't sound like garbage, it hardly makes a difference, because his voice doesn't quite matter as much as the words. Yukitoshi Hori does a very relaxed, more natural performance as Vulcan Raven, while Peter Lorre, originally under the alias Chuck Farley, does a more grand and kind of silly performance. Hori gives a more humble performance, which makes his spiritual belief sound like something he feels is normal, which could be seen as a statement of how definite he believes his faith to be. Peter Lorre, on the other hand, has a very grand and huge performance that certainly fits the image of Vulcan Raven, but it doesn't sound as natural as Hori, though I think he got better in the remake as opposed to the original, where he kind of sounded like he was doing an Arnold impersonation. Their good performances are outclassed by the writing, but both guys do a good job. Other Yukitoshi Hori roles include Tokumaru Tatsumi in Saint Seiya, Dodoria in Dragon Ball Z, Gin in Detective Conan, and Roberto Maguire in Robo Shin-Chan. Peter Lorre has performed as Sabretooth in X-Men Legends, Wolverine in the X-Men, and Ultimate Spider-Man. He's also the voice of the Juggernaut in Black Panther, Jidanbo in Bleach, and Kidomaru in Naruto. Vulcan Raven has only appeared in 2 games.